What up, what up? It's the Athletic Hockey Show. It is June the 18th, 2026. I am Sean Gentili. I am joined by Frankie Corrado and Sean McIndoe. Boys, how happy are you guys to see me sitting in my home and not in a B-list Marriott property somewhere in the continental United States?
Good looking hotel you got there. What's nice crisp Wi-Fi? What's happening?
I'm just glad nobody was asleep in my bed whenever I got home for this one. We don't need to go into that story. That one's.
I hope you made yourself a breakfast with like real eggs. You deserve that at this point.
No, bud. I mass ordered the powdered eggs that I've eaten in Fairfield Inns across the United States over the last 2 months. It's a Stockholm syndrome situation. Fellas, we're recording a little late today, and it was beneficial for us. It is Mike Babcock Day. Congratulations, everybody. The league has completed its review of the Babcock situation.
Investigation.
Yes.
Has been completed.
I'm going to read this word for word. The league has completed its review of Mike Babcock's tenure in Columbus and of certain alleged conduct associated therewith. Our investigation has concluded that even in a light least favorable to Mr. Babcock, there is no current basis to restrict his employment in the league. So everyone get excited. Edmonton, this is your guy. Don't you feel great about it? Right?
So good.
Right?
It's so good. I got two main thoughts on this. First of all, from an analyst point of view, a guy who sits at TSN watching games, doing SportsCenter hits at 1 a.m. When the Edmonton Oilers are close to being on my do not watch list because they're playing horrible, I will hold nothing back. I will not feel any ounce of remorse. Neither will any other analyst who has to talk about this team when they inevitably play horribly. So thank you, Mike, for coming back into the mix. You have made my job a lot easier. The second thing...
First time for that's happened.
Yeah, first time he's ever made my life easier, my job easier. Literally. The other thing, there's a vibe about the Oilers right now with this whole thing where it just looks like the guy at a bar who looks way too desperate. Like he's throwing stuff out there like, hey, you come here often? Like he's just, and that's what the Oilers, that's kind of how they look and operate with this entire thing. I get it. And I've said it on the pod, right? Like brilliant X's and O's guy, understands the game better than everybody, but there's more to hockey and coaching than that. You know, you guys like would be familiar with this, but if you've ever had any kind of interaction with someone who's a life coach or a broadcast coach or a business coach, it's a little bit about the protocol. It's more about how they communicate with you, like how the messaging gets across. And that is where he is the most deficient. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the dynamic is with him and McDavid and Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard, of all people, is going to be amazing. I can't wait. It's pure cinema. If anything else, this year will be pure cinema from the Edmonton Oilers.
And here's the thing, like all great cinema, if you're going to serve up a sequel, you got to have a little bit of a twist on it. And the twist now is we've all been doing the same narrative for the last few years in Edmonton, which is poor Connor McDavid, poor Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, yes.
These superstars surrounded by this incompetent organization that can't build around them. And now, this time, there might be some incompetence here, but Connor McDavid doesn't get to be the victim here. Connor McDavid was part of this decision. Presumably, he and Draisaitl said, that's our guy. We want that guy. Certainly, if either one of them had said, no, thank you, this doesn't even get off the ground. They picked their guy. So now, if it goes bad, the way a lot of us think it's going to go bad, this is no longer the poor Connor show. It's now, all right, the best player in the world got to pick his own coach. Is it going to work or not?
This is the call is coming from inside the house, to take it back to like the movie twist analogy. Sean, like you kind of, you said it, right? Like I'm still seeing the sentiment expressed from people, whether it's on Twitter or whatever else. Like, how could Stan Bowman do this to Connor McDavid? It's like, folks, You were connecting the wrong dots here, man.
Mhm.
That this decision has been made way above Stan Bowman's pay grade, whether we're talking about Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl or Daryl Cates or whatever. If you were an Edmonton Oilers fan or a Connor McDavid fan or a Leon Draisaitl or a Evan Bouchard fan, you need to recalibrate who you're mad at about this, because this doesn't happen if those guys aren't on board. This is not a unilateral Stan Bowman decision. This is not a unilateral Stan Bowman mistake. Like, we've seen more than enough of those over the years, but that's not what this is. This is those guys signing off on the coach that they want for what might be the end of the McDavid era. Like, that's what this is. And we need to come into the season and come into the situation knowing that that's what this is. This is no longer, poor put upon Connor McDavid, who's done so much for the Edmonton Oilers and gets, treated whatever. That's his reward. No, this is his guy. Like, that's the way we need to call it from here on out, man. This is the last coach, very, very, very potentially, if not probably, that Connor McDavid has in Edmonton.
Dude, you said something there that right away jumped off the page. Like, could it be the end of the Connor McDavid era? And we've been talking about it for a long time, and he signs the team-friendly deal. Let me ask you guys this. Is there another organization, and I'm sure there are, but there's another organization that he'd be willing to go to that is going to let him have this much autonomy as a player and interview coaches and have say on personnel decisions? Like, let me paint you a picture. One day, Connor McDavid decides to go to Dallas. Let's just pull a team and say Dallas. You think Jim Nill is letting him pick the new head coach? You think Kelly McCrimmon would let Connor McDavid pick the new head coach? I don't think so. So maybe this mutes the conversation a little bit about McDavid leaving Edmonton, because if you get to run the organization, maybe that's kind of nice. Maybe you don't want to leave. I don't know. Maybe you become accustomed to certain things, but I don't remember, you guys are maybe a little older than me, DGB, you might know the history on this more, but I don't remember like Crosby, Malkin, Kane, Taves. I don't remember any of these guys picking coaches. I just don't.
And what's interesting is I'm sure truly great players, franchise players, do get a say in this stuff.
Lemieux did.
Lemieux
certainly did.
I'm sure Austin Matthews was, and we'll get to the Leafs later, but I'm sure Austin Matthews was involved in that decision to an extent. But you don't hear about it because typically that just involves a team hiring somebody that you would think they might hire anyways, and not going so off the board like Edmonton has with this choice. I mean, I still cannot believe that they're doing this. Even this far along into the process, I still am stunned that of all the possible places for Mike Babcock to make his comeback, that it's happening in Edmonton with more pressure than we've ever seen and all of this stuff. And look, I said the word narrative, and that's kind of what it is with McDavid's influence here, because he's had influence before. I mean, you look at that organization, right? It's Chris Knobloch was his junior coach. He's got his agent is in the front office and all of this, but everybody kind of backed off of that. And now I don't think that happens. And look, it could work. This is the NHL. Nobody knows anything about what's going to happen. This could absolutely work. But if it doesn't, it's going to be a very different flavor of finger pointing happening in Edmonton than it has been in the years and years that we've been watching this drama unfold in the McDavid era. It was set up,
I think, we're talking about McDavid's potential exit, a season or two down the road. If they hired a normal coach, if they hired Bruce Cassidy, or if they hired, Jim Hiller, pick a name out of the hat, then if and when that day comes, the narrative surrounding it would have been completely different. It would have been a continuation of like, okay, this guy is given 13 years of his life, taken a team-friendly deal down the stretch, did whatever it took to, at least give them the best reasonable shot, and then moved on. And that's that. That was the way things were tracking until this happened. And now if we're looking a year down the road and they're traded and they're whatever, he gets traded with a year left on his deal or whatever ends up happening, the Babcock element completely changes the mix. Because if this blows up and if he leaves in a year, it's not just going to be, the org, put him in a situation where he had no other choice. It's going to be him being an active participant in greasing the skids, and making the kind of decisions that ultimately, at least as it relates to Cups, will have turned this, will have turned this phase of his career into a failure. Like this is fascinating stuff that's taking place here.
There's going to be a point in the season where they're not playing well, and maybe they're not getting saves, or maybe the defensemen are up to their old tricks and they're turning over pucks, and Connor's doing the flyby stuff way out the far blue line looking for a puck. Like, it's going to happen. I want to know if Babs has the stones to actually say something about it. And, because I feel like so many times in the past, all those things would get glossed over because McDavid's the best player in the world and Draisaitl's right there with him. And in the playoffs, these guys are animals and they crush it. They haven't won, but I mean, how could you ask for more from them? You're asking these guys to be superheroes at that point. But they say they want to be pushed. Okay, no problem. You think Babs is the guy to push you? Let's see if he says it to your face. And let's see if he actually holds you accountable for some of the things that have been going on there for years.
Yeah.
And what's more, five coaches have had issues with it.
Yeah. What's more likely, that McDavid does the flyby and gets yelled at it by Babs, or McDavid does the flyby and then Babs does some kind of weirdo freakazoid stuff with Josh Szymanski or Colton Dock or whatever it is? What's more likely? He holds McDavid to task, or he does his weirdo bully stuff on the fourth liners. I wonder what's more likely to happen.
He does weird stuff. So I remember one day was like an optional day, and I was kind of skating, and Austin was an 18-year-old rookie, and he was skating that day, and I was just talking to him. I guess he had just talked to Babs or something. And I was like, "How was that?" He goes, "He told me to stop stick handling. He said I stick handle too much when I skate up the ice. He's telling me to just push the puck forward." And I'm like, I think you're pretty fast when you stick handle. Like you're one of the faster.
Hey, I've noticed something about you, man.
Like I go, you're like when you skate and stick handle at the same time, I think you're fast, and I'm on the ice with you. Like it's you got like this little gallop thing going. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't take that to heart, man. Don't worry. He's like, yeah, it was a weird conversation, but like, I just want to know, like, if he's going to have that conversation with 97 and just, hey, I think you got to push the puck up more and stop stick handling. I can't wait for that conversation.
Something tells me no. I said whatever. This is on McDavid's permanent record. Like, whatever happens here, like if they win a cup, you give him credit for knowing what he needed and what the team needed, and if he doesn't, it's on him too. And that's my takeaway today.
If you're an Oilers fan, you're going, well, wait a second. If this is McDavid's call, then if it doesn't work, isn't he obligated to stick around and
nope.
Maybe, but nope. Like, that's not how it's going to work. So
how about this? How about this? If you're really into the details of the game, like I am, a little bit of a nerd, the last time Babs coached in the NHL was 2019. There's been a pandemic. There's been major changes in how teams penalty kill, in how teams do certain D-zone coverage things. I want to know where Babs is at with his X's and O's and what he's going to do, because if he's just going to roll out there with the same game plan he had for the 2015-2016 Toronto Maple Leafs, I think it's going to be a little stale and it's going to be outdated, and teams would have figured that stuff out. So, like, I'm really curious to see the first kind of run through with the Oilers, what they're throwing out there. Like, it maybe people listening, it doesn't mean much to them, but like, other teams are pre-scouting, and it's going to mean a lot to them.
What's Mike Babcock going to do when they're playing the Avalanche in the playoffs? What's he going to do about Kelly McCrimmon? Because guess what? Mike Babcock has never coached in an NHL that has Kelly McCrimmon in it. The last time Mike Babcock coached in this league, Elias Pettersson was the rookie of the year. Elias Pettersson, who feels like he's had 8 different careers since then. of ups and downs and everything. That's how long ago it was. He was the fresh-faced, he was the alien back then, remember? And we're all like, wow, what a full open canvas ahead of this kid. That's how long ago it was. We were all talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning can't win a Stanley Cup. That's how long ago it was. The Florida Panthers, franchise joke, a punchline. That's how long ago this was. And now he's back. I would assume he's I don't know, maybe his time behind a Canadian university bench helped him really stay up to date on modern techniques, but a lot changes in 7 years. That's we said it last week. Like, putting aside all the nonsense, I still don't understand why you go and get a guy who hasn't coached in 7 years. Whether it was because he retired or he went on vacation or whatever it was, it's been 7 years. Are we sure?
This is it. There's an unknown out there, and they haven't won a Stanley Cup. And the unknown at one time was revered as one of the best coach in the game because the NHL thought so and Hockey Canada thought so. And if they're willing to do everything they possibly can to win a Stanley Cup, beg, borrow, cheat, steal, you name it, they're going to turn over that stone. And this is what that whole process is. And optically, for them looking outward, this is their way of saying, we are going to be cutthroat and we're going to win a Stanley Cup and we're not going to apologize for it. The same way Kelly McCrimmon doesn't apologize for being the most hated team and the Florida Panthers don't apologize for playing the way that they play. This is their version of that. Does it work? I doubt it, but they're going to try.
And we do have a bid from Ryan Rashog, TSN. Sounds like final details of the contract are being nailed down, but barring a last-minute rush, I wouldn't expect a press conference in Edmonton until early next week for Babcock. So we got a few days to chew all this over and for people to come to terms that this dude is back in our lives.
Okay, let me ask you
Congratulations,
something.
everyone.
Let me guys ask you something. If we're at like a hotel convention room and DJ Smith is standing in the middle and Jimmy Hiller's at one side and Babs is at the other side, and they both say, "Come here, DJ." Yeah. Which way does he go?
Run to the one you love most.
Okay, that's a classic. That's a classic Frankie throw. We do have an actual coach. What's the word I'm looking for? An actual coach vacancy to be officially filled. It's your buddy. It's Jimmy Hiller, 41st coach in Leafs history, head coach of the Kings from 23 to 26. Spent a bunch of years as Babcock's assistant, of course, with Austin Matthews and William Nylander in Toronto. Frankie, you know this guy. Is this going to work? What do you think of the hire?
Okay, let me start by saying I have a lot of time for Jimmy Hiller. He is a really nice guy. He was a joy to be around. He was one of the few people. The teammates were awesome, but like on the coaching staff, I guess he was a guy who made conversations a little more enjoyable. So I got a lot of time for his demeanor and everything about him. But he was an assistant coach at the time. And for me, there's a very distinct difference between being an assistant coach where the bad cop is really, really bad and you get to be the good cop, and being the head guy. Evil cop, good cop? Right. Yes. Yeah, it was evil cop. It wasn't even bad cop. It was evil cop, good cop. And Jimmy was really good at that. You know, it's funny because I never thought he had the persona to be a head coach. I didn't know it was something he ever wanted to pursue. And then sure enough, years later, he's a head coach. And I thought to myself, I go, I did not see that coming. Like, I think head coaching, that whole thing, it doesn't come easy to him. But he was great as an assistant. And I think his relationships are long lasting. I think he's got a lot of good ideas with what he wants to do. He ran our power play in Toronto. He did a good job. I was in some of those meetings. Those meetings were always articulate, and he was well-spoken. But like, I come back to this, just very different between being a head guy and an assistant guy. And like, I got a lot of time for him. I just hope he doesn't have too much Babs in him as a head coach, if you know what I'm saying.
Interesting.
I just, real quick, what the hell were you doing in a power play meeting?
I used I'm not
Is
even
it
joking.
is it open door? Is it like, can anybody go into those things? Or
it's
what?
not. So the 2015-2016 season, I actually played some power play, if you can believe it. So I was in the meetings, and I was like, if someone would get hurt that year, I was in the meetings as well. I wasn't always on it. And then the next year in 16-17, I just said I'm going in every meeting because I wasn't playing at
That's
all.
so great.
So I would literally go in every face-off meeting, power play meeting, penalty kill meeting.
It's like, hey, you guys got food in here? What's up?
It's just sitting there with the goalies, and
I
they're just
literally sit
awkwardly
in
looking at each other.
Every possible meeting, the guy's got a real good kick out of it.
Oh, that's
Nice.
And that's why you're so good at your job these days, brother. You're hanging out with in the goalie meetings. That's a dude who likes homework.
In the goalie meetings.
McIndoe, they interviewed more than 40 or more than 50 guys for this job. I think I saw 55 kick around. We did not hear a word about Jim Hiller until he was hired, basically. We heard Pavelski, we heard Bruce Cassidy, we heard all sorts of interesting, an interesting variety of names across the coaching spectrum, I would say, but Jim Hiller didn't really pop up until he got hired. What do you think of that?
I mean, I was like everyone else, right? And there was not a whisper of this name. And so when I saw this news coming across the feed yesterday, I'll be honest, my very first reaction was, Jim Hiller, that's not the LA guy. Wasn't there was a guy in LA with the same sort of name, but this must be somebody. Is he like a college guy? Is he what? Nope. Same guy. And I mean, I guess, look, clearly the Leafs are trying to keep things close to the vest. They succeeded in this case, with this hire, at least, not with all the names. I honestly wonder, like, how many of those names that leaked out, like, was that disqualifying? Like, if your name got out, were you off the list all of a sudden? And maybe that explains why this hire ended up. Look, I probably had the same initial reaction that everyone else did, which was, what the heck are they doing? I've read some of the feedback and analysis, and heard from some people who seem to know things, and that's brought me back off the ledge a bit. But this is a fascinating hire, because this is not a guy who nobody was talking about, and then they hire him and you go, oh, wow, okay, interesting. Like this was a guy no one was talking about, because why would anybody be talking about him? He had a couple of years in LA. It didn't go great. He got fairly or unfairly almost directly blamed for them losing a playoff series in a way that you almost never see with coaches, because of the challenge and everything when they were up 2-0. And now here we are. It's a fascinating hire from a fascinating front office, and a very interesting Maple Leafs offseason continues to roll along. And I think at this point we can just say, if you think you've figured out what this front office is going to do and what this organization is going to do, no, you haven't, because they will go in very interesting directions. And look, same thing I said with Babcock. Could it work? Yeah, of course it could. In fact, I think it's a lot more likely to work than Babcock is. But what does it mean for it to work? I know everyone's, we've all made the same punchlines, right? A guy comes over from LA, a team that loses in the first round every single year, and he's the guy that the Maple Leafs bring in. Talk about organizational fit. Maybe that's the key thing they're looking for. I'm surprised. I'm not overly impressed, but I'll be patient. I'll give it a chance. Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes when they start playing, because this team had zero defensive structure last year with a head coach who was supposed to imply that, and they did a horrible job of it from top to bottom. So if they can still score the way they did this year, I know they had a lot of puck luck, if you can believe that. A team that had a lot of puck luck is going to pick first overall, but it's true. Then maybe it won't look so bad. But I hope this is not what Vancouver's version of trying to keep Quinn Hughes was, by hiring Adam Foote. And I think it's not, like, on the surface, you could make that argument that, like, hey, they just want to bring someone who the guys liked and keep it comfortable and familiar. But, like, Jim Hiller has been an assistant coach for a long time, like associate coach, has been a head coach now for a decent amount of time. So I don't see it as the same thing. And, you know, people are allowed to learn as time goes on. Like maybe he doesn't make the same mistakes that he made when he was with LA. Who knows? But, you know, to DGB's point, the difference between it working in Edmonton and Toronto is for it to work in Edmonton, they have to win a Stanley Cup, no less. In Toronto, I don't even think we really know what that is yet. Is it make the playoffs? Is it sniff around the playoffs? Is it win a round? Like for the longest time, it was they have to win rounds.
Yeah. What are they trying to accomplish here? Yeah. And if you want a guy to get you to the first round and, you know, instill some because those Kings teams were good defensively. Like he coached teams that played effective defensive hockey.
The numbers were very good in his time in LA, but they were also very good before.
Correct. That's kind of what I was getting at. Like I don't know how much,
you know. It's not like he came in and fixed a mess in LA, which is what he's going to be asked to do here in Toronto.
Yep. He already had Andre Kopitar and Phil Deneau and pretty decent group of defensemen to work with there too. So I don't know that that's necessarily the talent base he's working with now either. Okay. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Kelly McCrimmon's latest round of everybody's jealous of us comments in Vegas. We're going to do a nice little wrap up on the Carolina Cup. That's after the break. And before we hit the break, this is me and McIndoe. We are happy to announce the upcoming release of the Hockey 100. It's the definitive ranking of the greatest players of the good old hockey game. It's set to release ahead of the 26-27 NHL season, which is in October somehow. And you can pre-order today from the link in our episode description. It features a very well-written introduction by one Jonathan McIndoe. I know they were trying to get some bigger names to fulfill that part of the obligation, and then they landed.
Trying, just everybody. Only one guy was dumb enough to answer the phone.
I knew
and that intro's on the site today, by the way.
It's on the site, and it features two nice little darts at me because I knew they were coming. So check that out. Order the book. It's all the profiles that we wrote of the top 100 players a few years ago that have been updated and edited and put in a nice little book that's going to make sense for a lot of people come Christmas time. So hit the link in the episode description. Check Sean's intro on the site and enjoy this break because we'll be right back. All right, we are back. It was garbage bag day for the Vegas Golden Knights over the last couple of days. John Tortorella not coming back. Ryan Craig entering the discussion as their new head coach. I don't know how much there is to say about that. We not a surprise with the Tortorella decision. I think it wasn't my story to report, but I'm also not surprised that this is the way it ended up going down. It seemed like this was in the works for it became clear at some point during the Stanley Cup final that this is the way it was gonna end. So whatever. Torts can go back to ESPN and keep cashing those media checks, baby.
Just go sit in the bullpen and get ready to start warming up in March, and we hit Enter Sandman, and in he comes.
Here he comes.
Whoever.
This might be a little bit of a niche. This might be like a niche market for Torts that he's created for himself, where he should do like an ESPN infomercial for this. Like, are you unsatisfied with your team's play? Is it getting into late March? Then you need to think about Torts. If you fire your coach today,
give Torts a try today. Boston Bruins or whatever ends up happening.
For one quick payment of $1 million, you can have Torts behind your bench for 8 games and the playoffs.
Commitment.
Being super duper normal at all times. The bigger news coming out of Vegas, though, I think it's Kelly McCrimmon's. I said this before the break, but his latest round of, talking about how jealous all the other teams are in league of him. Said this yesterday. Good story by Jesse Granger on the site, kind of exploring the latest round. For me, it's jealousy, Kelly McCrimmon says. And people are uncomfortable admitting that we've done a hell of a job. That's what I honestly think. And Jesse mentioned a fan poll that voted Vegas as the league's most hated team. I don't know if that's necessarily, you like to have evidence and you like to have some receipts to pull, but I'm not sure that one was particularly necessary. But McCrimmon's getting asked the question again. He's giving the same answer that he's given in one way or another over the last bunch of years, which is everybody's a hater and everyone's jealous, and that's the cause here. Nothing else to be seen. It's just jealousy over one cup in 10 years, which is the same as which is the same as the St. Louis Blues, by the way.
How wrong is he though? In your heart of
Incredibly.
hearts, is he really wrong? You don't think teams are jealous of Vegas, that they show up?
I think teams are annoyed by Vegas. I think those are different things.
People in Toronto, when Vegas just showed up year one and went to the Stanley Cup final, people were jealous. I keep hearing this. Okay, I hear it from players that have played there at some point, that maybe it didn't go well, or just media types or fans, whatever. At some point, it's going to catch up to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger question is, how has it not caught up to them? Like, how are they continuing to just kind of pull this off and roll these things over? Like, for every team, at some point, there's an expiration date, and they've missed the playoffs once. So what is the expiration date? It's crazy that they're still doing this.
And it's self-fulfilling, right? Because they're the number one destination for players, which is fascinating to me, that in a league where you have all these teams that bend over backwards to treat players well, you've got Vegas, the most cold-hearted, cutthroat team out there, and players are lining up going, I absolutely want to sign for 7 years or 8 years here in Vegas. They'll treat, surely I'll be the exception. I will be treated well the whole time. They won't they won't put a footprint on my back as soon as things go bad. I mean, look, at bottom line, everything Kelly McCrimmon said was true about the jealousy. I don't know about players or teams. Other fan bases, yes, 100%. A lot of this is jealousy. All you have to do is listen to all those fans of other teams out there who still to this day are doing the whole, they had everything handed to them at the expansion draft thing. Even though we've seen, as Kelly McCrimmon pointed out, the Seattle Kraken crash and burn under the same rules. And I'm sure they were thrilled to have a starring role in that Kelly McCrimmon press conference. But yes, everything he said is true. Also, there's a ton of other great reasons to not like this Vegas team, to be tired of them, to hate them, to view them as the villains. And you go on down the list, the Bruce Cassidy situation, Carter Hart, potentially tampering with Mitch Marner, being the team that, seems to have all of these players handed to them because all these players want to go there and no taxes and all this other stuff. For certain fans, certain types of fans, the whole approach, the Vegas, the pregame shows and all of this, you go on down the line. There's a ton of reasons to not like the Vegas Golden Knights. But is jealousy one of them? Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is.
It's one of them. There's reasons to dislike. This is something people don't like. You hear from a certain type of person though, like that there's got to be something like that at play if you're disliked. And sometimes you just don't like people, sometimes you don't like hockey teams, and you don't necessarily need a reason for it. It doesn't need to be jealousy. You can just not vibe with the way a person behaves when you run into them on the street. And I think for a lot of people, that is what has taken over for the jealousy that absolutely was evident in 2017, 2018, up to 2023. That's a long time ago now, man. Like I super successful, made the playoffs all but 1 year, blah, 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 blah. Like all true. But they've been part of the mix now enough where there are other reasons to dislike them other than just, they did a good job at the expansion draft and whatever. Pittsburgh had to dump Marc-Andre Fleury to sign Jake Gensel. Like there are reasons beyond that. And I think the fact that we're rehashing this, and it's in McCrimmon isn't willing to allow for the possibility that there's other reasons for this other than just blind jealousy based on the way an expansion draft went 9 years ago. I think that's proof of concept. Like sometimes people are just annoying, and sometimes people just get annoyed. And I think that's kind of what we have here in one way or another.
And some people are jerks, and sometimes those people end up running NHL teams, and the teams take on the personality of the people running them. And I think that's absolutely part of it too. And I think fans can see that. So,
and just embrace, if this is who you want to be, just embrace it.
They're not hiding from it at this point.
They're not, but they're kind of mad about it too. Like they're saying that everyone hates us and everyone's jealous of us, and they act like it's something that's been unfairly put upon them. Like none of this at this point is undeserved. So just wear the shoe, man. It fits and it's right in front of you. Don't try to convince people that this is something that you don't deserve. And that's what's aggravating about this.
You know what would be stating the obvious, and maybe I'm not, you tell me, but this whole routine, their whole thing would not work if their location wasn't Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Like it works for them because it's Vegas, because it's a highly sought after destination for players to play, for, I don't know, fans to go watch games. It's just like, I love going to Vegas on the road. When I get to call a game there and I see my schedule in Vegas, I'm so happy. I overlook everything because I'm just happy to be there, right? Okay. If they were in some cold, small market somewhere, they couldn't act as brazen or as grumpy or as prickly as they do because, well, then who cares? We're not going there. Like, you're way over there. But the fact that they're in Vegas allows them to do what they do, which also makes it, I'm sure, more infuriating for people because they're playing by essentially a different set of rules than other markets and other teams have to play by.
It does. It feels like they're playing the player acquisition game on easy mode, and everyone else's difficulty slider is anywhere from moderate to next to impossible for some of the smaller market, cold weather, high tax teams. But again, that's because largely because they win, right? So, I mean, it one leads to the other. They win because every star player, heads them as their number one destination and ends up there. And
sound pretty jealous of you, dude.
But you know what? As soon as they start losing, which will happen eventually, I keep telling myself, then it all falls apart, right? I mean, being the jerks works just fine when you're winning.
Yep.
And then as soon as it goes bad for a year or two, look out, because then they could be doing everything exactly the same, but suddenly the vibe around everything changes, and then maybe that's when all the haters get to spike the football. But they sure can't do it now because it's working.
One more thing, other than the winning, you have to keep in mind older players have significant others and potentially children. That always plays a big factor for guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they have an opportunity to play somewhere where wife or girlfriend can walk around in shorts and t-shirt and take the kids to the pool and do all these things, it's like
schools are good and
my life is easier now because I'm not worried about my wife's going nuts inside and minus whatever.
Do you guys not remember, when they first announced they were going to have an expansion team in Vegas, I remember seeing people go, oh, good luck getting players. You'll get the young guys, but you're not getting any of the married guys because nobody's going to, the families aren't going to let them.
People didn't realize how they roll in like Henderson and Summerlin.
Because Summerlin's
that's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, no one's living at the Caesars penthouse. They're living in the burbs.
Right. Yeah. This isn't, Rasmus Anderson and his wife living in the Vidara or something. Like they're looking at nice places here and out in the burbs. Yeah. Real quick before we let Frankie go here. I thought it was an interesting piece by Myrtle up on the site here where we're kind of revisiting Rod Brind'Amour's legacy and his Hall candidacy. That's top of mind now. That's coming up in the next week or so. He's gotten, sort of close before. He's certainly come up in the discussion. The crux of Myrtle's piece, and it's something I agree with, is that we need to rethink how we vote on Hockey Hall eligible individuals. Like right now, it's like you consider them as a player, or you consider them as a builder, or you consider them as a coach, and that's not, in all of those categories, Brind'Amour is not not a slam dunk. Clearly, he hasn't coached long enough, and he's probably on the wrong side of the line when you're talking about his playing career. But when you look at his life in hockey in totality, I think it at this point it's, I mean, maybe not a slam dunk, but I think it's certainly an easier case to make. So I'm wondering from both you guys, like if you're on the Hall and all of a sudden you're allowed to consider Rod the coach along with Rod the player, does he get your vote?
I'm fascinated by this because I write a ton about the Hall of Fame because I'm a history guy, and I mean I love this. I love having the arguments and all of that. And I actually, somebody sent me a link to something I wrote 10 years ago, and where I said, "Hey, how come Rod Brind'Amour never comes up in the Hall of Fame talk?" And I kind of laid out the case. I said he had almost 1,200 points. He had two Selkies. He won a cup. How come you never hear this guy's name? And, at the time it was, that was accurate. You almost never heard him mentioned. And I actually, at the time I was writing it in the context of Marian Hossa, who a lot of people were pointing at and saying, Hossa's of course going to the Hall of Fame. Slam dunk, not even a question. And I sort of said, okay, well, let's put him next to Rod Brind'Amour. And here we are 10 years later. And I feel like now there's all these people who say he's a slam dunk as a player. Of course he has to be in. And now I'm the guy going, well, hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. And I've got a piece going out probably tomorrow where I say, all right, if we're going to put Rod Brind'Amour in as a player, is Ryan O'Reilly next? Ryan O'Reilly's got a Selkie. He's got a cup. He's going to finish with similar point totals. Ryan O'Reilly doesn't feel like a Hall of Famer to me, but if we're going to go down that road, Rod Brind'Amour is not a Hall of Famer as a player. Period. I say that as the history guy. I'm not trying to pull rank, but I'm saying like and the people out there, certainly the people who say he's a slam dunk as a player, are just wrong, flat out. Now, his coaching career is not supposed to have anything to do with his player career, right? Like, I mean, Sean, you remember when Eric Duhatschek was here, and former committee member, and we used to do Hall of Fame stuff, and he always nailed that. He always would tell us, like, it is completely separate, church and state. That is nailed home to the committee. Myrtle's argument is, well, maybe it shouldn't be that way, and maybe we should let some common sense in and not be such a slave to the rule book that we don't let the fact that this guy is having this incredible second act maybe nudge him over a finish line that he wouldn't otherwise get to as a player. Because, like I said, not a Hall of Famer in my mind, certainly not a slam dunk, but he wouldn't be the worst pick if they did put him in as a player. Like this, there are some legitimately bad picks. I don't think he'd be one of them. So I think it's an interesting argument, and I like the way that Myrtle approached it, of saying, like, yeah, we all know what the rules are, but do we have the right rules? And if we don't have the
should
right
the rules
rules,
change?
It's 18 people in a room, and they never tell us what they talk about or how the discussion went. So they could just kind of, wink and nudge, and we put Rod in. Yeah. And I guess the final argument I would make is, it is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Excellence or the Hall of, it's the Hall of Fame. And when you have a guy who is, I would argue, the single most important person in the history of one of the 32 NHL markets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we do find a way to just right this way, sir. Right? Yeah, I know you don't have your ticket stamped quite yet, but just come on in. I don't know that anybody would complain too much about that. So maybe it is time to do it. Just don't act like it's obvious slam dunk material.
It's also like, when you guys, like, if you vote on awards, you look at all these numbers, you look at underlying metrics, you look at all these things, right? And at some point, you got to put pen to paper, and you got to write players down in certain areas. And in your gut, it's got to feel good. And if everyone can sleep at night at the Hall of Fame saying that Rod Brind'Amour does not belong in here, then that's fine. They can sleep at night, no problem. But I would look at that and say, guys, what are we doing here?
Doesn't
Rod
feel right.
Brind'Amour, almost 1,200 points. Rod Brind'Amour, face of the franchise, who's now won a Stanley Cup as a captain, player, and coach with one organization. And the way he carries himself, the way he conducts his business, talking to people, treating all these things. Like, tell me that's a guy that doesn't belong in the Hockey Hall of Fame? Whatever helps you sleep at night. But as far as I'm concerned, and to your point, like, yeah, there's certain criteria. Maybe the goalposts need to move a little bit, because that's a guy who belongs in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
And the last point I'll make on this, because I know a lot of people are looking forward to this Monday is when the committee meets and they make the announcements. And a lot of people are saying, man, this is the time. This is Brind'Amour's time. He just won the cup. It's top of mind. And the one thing that gives me some pause there is a guy who I do think should probably be in as a player, as a borderline case, is Keith Tkachuk. And, Keith Tkachuk for a few years, you heard his name. But then when Brady and Matthew kind of emerged as these superstars in the league, that kind of elevated Keith Tkachuk. And then, when Matthew was winning cups in Florida, especially the first year, and, they'd show Keith in the stands, I really felt like, okay, that's going to put him over the top. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't happened yet for him. And I almost wonder if the committee feels like, okay, we'll do it, but we're going to do it on our terms. We don't want it to look like we just all got swept up seeing a guy on TV a bunch over the last few weeks. So, we're going to pump the brakes a little bit. I do wonder if that ends up happening with Rod Brind'Amour, which I guess is my way of saying, especially to the Carolina fans out there, if he doesn't get the call on Monday, that doesn't necessarily mean game over. That doesn't mean that the door is never going to be more open. And if he doesn't walk through on Monday, then, that I wonder if the committee is just kind of going, all right, guys, maybe next year, maybe the year after, but let's not make it look like the decision got made for us. We're still the ones who make the picks. And so, we're going to wait just a little bit. I wonder if that's how it plays out.
And this is true. The voting body for that honor, just in the, it's crazy. It's 18 people, right? Like it's a wildly, so you're talking literally single digits. There could be, and this, I'm not saying this specifically about Brind'Amour. I'm saying this about everybody who comes up for discussion. There could be a very, very small faction of people that say, Brind'Amour's out or McGillney's out or X, Y, any debate that we've had over the last bunch of years.
He could make it unanimously. He might not even be discussed on Monday. Mm-hmm. The way the process works, if nobody puts their hand up and uses their pick on him, it's very strange. But I mean, if I had to bet, I think he gets in at some point in the next 5 years. I'm not convinced it's Monday, but we'll see.
We shall see. And we shall see on Monday, actually, Frankie. The three of us are back on Monday. So
it's going to be so fun when we're on live on Monday and Frankie's cell phone rings. And it's not Lanny McDonald anymore. I don't know who it is, but it's Mike Gartner calling, and Frankie gets the call from all his power play work.
Can you guys come shine my shoes? Something like that.
We'll help you. We'll help you tie the tie and all of that.
In first ballot in my personal Hall of Fame, Frankie Corrado.
I gotta go. We're done.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.
See you, boys.
Stick around. Me and McInerney are to come back. We're going to talk what we learned about the PWHL draft and also the future of Hockey Night in Canada. See you in a second. All right, we are back. Sean McInerney, I would like to tell you what I've learned.
I would love to hear.
What have we learned, Sean?
I learned that Haley Salvian, my one-time co-host on this show, we haven't done a show together in God knows how long. It's insane. She went 4 for 4 on the first 4 picks of the PWHL draft last night. That is difficult to do in any draft, let alone this one, because there were some off the board picks. We had KK Harvey gets taken first overall, not a surprise there. Abby Murphy second overall to Seattle. Okay, third pick was Tessa Janicki to Vegas, and that is where things went off of the boards. Vegas needed a center. Haley sniffed that out. Janicki was the best one from the group. Obviously, she was outstanding at Penn State. That bumped Layla Edwards, who was certainly in the mix at 3, but bumped her down to 4 for San Jose. So Haley went 4 for 4 there, and I don't know, man. I think it's very impressive to me because the mock draft game is funny in any sport because
it is, but some years are easier than others. What Haley did yesterday reminded me of Pronman in the with Corey Pronman in
ungodly
the Montreal
run by
draft.
Him. It was incredible.
Right? The when he had Because I remember when he put his mock out with Shane Wright dropping to 4th, and people said, "You're out of your mind."
Crazy. Yep.
And it played out, and it was the same thing. It was kind of like, I remember seeing like when Vegas made that pick yesterday, it was, you're seeing people going, "Oh, this is out of nowhere. I don't know." And I'm going, not for everybody. It's not. As somebody who relies on Haley to tell me what's going on in that league, I saw this coming because she saw it coming. So kudos to
10
her.
10 out of 12 first round picks correct for Haley. Also some interesting stuff that just took place in the draft in general. So head over there for the full roundup. God, the PWHL offseason is complete.
I just wish it was more
crazy.
complicated.
Yeah,
I wish
they should add some more phases and add some more clauses and more pages to the 20-page expansion draft or expansion
I understand,
roster allocation process, I should say.
Look, I understand that this league doesn't, they don't need male fans, but you want as big an audience as possible. And I got to say, on behalf of the men, you got to simplify this if you want us to really pay. Like, you can't have different phases and everything. It's got to be
six phases of roster building.
One phase, small words, maybe some pictures, and I'm on board. But you got
bright colors.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I learned something this week that bummed me out. Which is that Hockey Night in Canada is no more. I can barely believe I'm saying that, and I should explain this if I think primarily for the Americans because it's a little bit confusing. So Sportsnet has the rights up here in Canada, the national rights. They had them previously on the previous deal, and they would then license out games to other places, including the CBC with the traditional Saturday night Hockey Night in Canada games.
Mm-hmm.
And with the new deal that is kicking in imminently, Sportsnet still has those rights, but they have announced that they are no longer going to work with CBC. And whether that's a Sportsnet thing or CBC or they just couldn't agree on a price or a scenario that worked. And the CBC owns the rights to Hockey Night in Canada. And so this doesn't mean that there is no more Saturday night hockey in Canada. And it doesn't mean that you won't necessarily see a lot of the same faces that you've been seeing on Hockey Night in Canada, but it won't be called Hockey Night in Canada and it won't be on the CBC. And that just stinks, man. Like it's such a bummer. And I say this as someone, obviously I've got Sportsnet and all the streaming services and most people do up here. There's
mm-hmm.
not too many people watching hockey on bunny ears anymore, but it's just one more thing, one more twist of the knife. This has not been a fun time to be a hockey fan in Canada in recent years for a whole lot of reasons. And this is just one more twist of the knife that, 70 years of getting the family together and turning on the CBC and watching Hockey Night in Canada, it's done. You're going to have to buy this channel and that channel and this service and stream here and all of it. And it's just one more thing. And yeah, we probably should have seen it coming. And yeah, a lot of us were already watching their Saturday night games on Sportsnet anyways. So maybe it doesn't change all that much.
It had the branding though. This is like
the branding. And look, I mean, it's at some point, and it wouldn't shock me if at some point Sportsnet and CBC just got together and said, "Is there something we can do? Can we license the brand? Can we do this or that?" And maybe that's how it plays out. But
down the line, maybe.
I don't know, man. It's just it's to say that you're going to turn on the CBC on a Saturday night and you're not going to see Leafs and Habs, or you're not going to see Vancouver and Edmonton coming up in the late game. It stinks, man. And I know it's the bottom line. It's all about, you're paying $11 billion to broadcast this league. It all becomes financial. It just stinks.
There's some version of that happening with the NFL where, we're seeing, there's games on Thursdays and there's games on Tuesdays and there's games on Christmas and it's been so spread out, and there are mechanisms in place for the NFL now where like CBS and Fox, which are the primary, early window networks, they're going to get less games to choose from and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's happening to some degree, like in the NFL, which is obviously the closest analog in the States. But we're still going to be able to watch 1:00 games on CBS and Fox, and we're still going to watch Sunday Night Football on NBC and Monday Night Football on ABC. Like, those aren't going anywhere. The quality of the games might be lesser, but we're still going to get the packaging around it, and that counts for a lot, man. In the Hockey Night in Canada thing is there is no. It's a winding way of me to say that there is no analog there for any sport in the United States. None.
And I'll just say this as my last thought on this is the Stanley Cup final we just watched, which was a great final, entertainment value off the charts, did quite well ratings wise in the United States. Sort of buried under that good news was that it did very poorly up in Canada. And I will just say that this seems like yet another decision by the NHL and its partners and its stakeholders that is so much of what this league has done and not done in recent years seems to be based on the assumption that Canadians will always watch hockey. And there is, you can take them, go ahead and call it taking them for granted or whatever you want. Hockey is a permanent part. The NHL is a permanent part of Canadian culture, and it'll never, ever go away. And there is nothing that you can do to those fans and those viewers. There is no penny that you could squeeze out of them that will ever be the final straw. They will always watch. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're not. I guess we'll find out. But it is it's an interesting bet to make if you're the NHL and Sportsnet and everything, because personally, I think at a certain point you poke fan base enough times,
you feed people you feed people slop for long enough, like it's
and I'll tell you, it's if that were to happen, it's not, first of all, it's not going to be an overnight thing. And it's not going to be something you can reverse overnight. It won't be like there'll be some final straw, and then you'll go, "Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We'll put the branding back on Hockey Night."
No, it's the slow boat. Back. That's what we're talking about.
It is. You are slowly but surely pushing an audience that still drives the revenue in this league.
Mm-hmm.
You're pushing them further and further away. Maybe there is no such thing as too much. Maybe there is, but you know where the line is.
You're depressing me.
Or maybe at some point, everyone looks around and goes, "Damn, we should have been looking out for that audience that was our golden goose more than we were." And now that we figured that out, maybe it's too late.
Hey, why is the bar empty all of a sudden? Do people not eat here anymore? That's what the vibe's going to be. All right. God, what a downer! Holy hell, McIndoe.
This is what happens when Frankie leaves.
Just two depressive losers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What post is going up next? This is Thursday, so do you have a Friday?
I'm going to look at
tomorrow.
I got a post going up tomorrow on something I like to do around this time of year. I got a half dozen active players that I think are shaping up to be tough Hall of Fame calls. Obviously, there's some active players that are sure things. And there's lots of active players who aren't coming near it, but there's a half dozen that I picked out that I think are, maybe going to be on the fence. And just
you were simply not content with pissing off every Carolina Hurricanes fan on the internet yesterday. You wanted to spread the wealth to other fan bases, I see.
That's right. Yeah. I want everyone to, and none of these guys get in until Rod Brind'Amour does.
There we go. Easy peasy. Thank you, buddy. And thank you, Frankie. And thank you, fine folks, for watching us and listening to us. The three of us are back for a special Monday edition of the Wednesday show. Again, that's on Monday. Ahead of the draft in Buffalo later this week. Enjoy. I guess we're in the off season now. I hate to admit it. Enjoy that content. Enjoy the draft stuff, and we'll be back to talk to you in a couple days.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.